So brace yourself, because before this film is over, you will visit the bloody fields of battle. You'll meet the people involved in the fighting on both sides, which includes some of the most influential figures in America today. And perhaps for the first time, you'll understand the reasons behind their struggle. Our story concerns abortion and began, strangely enough, in this relatively peaceful suburb of Los Angeles. Melvin Weisberg, a pathologist, owned a large storage container which he kept in his backyard. When he failed to make the final 2 payments, it was repossessed.
His check did not clear the bank, and so we sent the truck out to pick up the container.
I rolled out there and took the box up and started pulling it up. And it was so heavy, it's just it broke the winch.
And we couldn't get it off the trailer, so we had to leave it on the trailer because it was too heavy. So I was asked by Nick to have a crew go down and unload the container at the other yard.
I got a radio call that from Ron Gillette, the foreman, and he said the men were throwing up and there was something really wrong.
One of them fell down and hit me right in front of my feet. And it was opened up, and there it was. It was a mutilated body. And the more closer I looked at it, it was a human body.
You know, just little bitty babies, you know, just all torn in pieces. Their heads chopped off, arms, legs, you know, it just makes you sick to see something like that. It makes you want to cry when you see something like that.
Starting at the very front of this container, it was just wall clear to the ceiling and clear to the sides, filled with them.
Well, as the supervisor for the County of Los Angeles, we found out through the media that 17,000 infants had been stored in a container. So we asked for an investigation by the district attorney and the coroner's office. We found approximately 190 were over 20 weeks of age. I think some as old as 25, 27 weeks.
Glenn Wong is a funeral director for a major Los Angeles mortuary. How many fetuses were actually involved in the autopsies?
There were approximately about 44 if I'm correct.
And why were the autopsies performed?
They were to find out why or what was the reason of the cause of death.
That wasn't apparent?
Apparently not. No, I've seen some of these fetuses, and believe me, they were apart. But there were some where the eyes were bulging and some where the chest cavity was ripped open. I do remember one where I saw a hand and a feet all apart.
We had a court order that would allow us to bury these infants, being a humane act. And the ACLU comes in again saying that this is just tissue. We want to incinerate them, and there's no need for a burial. Because if you had a burial, somehow that's going to create a problem. Problem for whom?
And at that time, I think everybody there realized this was wrong, that it was really wrong. Everybody standing there felt that way. And then transferred it all into to the original container. And as I understand, it's still up in a county yard someplace.
Is it refrigerated?
No, it's in a steel container.
And how long, do you have any idea how long it'll be there?
I don't know, but it's been 2 years now, so who knows?
When it was all said and done, over 16,500 fetuses were pulled from that shipping container, as well as from the garage of Melvin Weisberg's home. Almost 200 of them were over 20 weeks gestation. A lot of people, it pissed a lot of people off. There was a lot of controversy. Ronald Reagan called it a national disaster and even wrote something that was read here at the service in memory of the 16,500 precious unborn buried here October 6, 1985. Now, after reading the stone, you might be asking yourself, if they found the shipping container in 1982 and the stone reads October 6, 1985, how come it took so long? Well, there was a lot of organizations who were very unhappy with what happened, of course, and even more so, unhappy with what the plans were to deal with them.
And I'll now begin by introducing today's witnesses. The first witness is Dr. Anthony Levatino. Dr. Levatino is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Dr. Levatino has practiced obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings, including as an associate professor of OBGYN at the Albany Medical College. And Dr. Levatino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. Second trimester D&E abortions performed between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. She's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and a half-inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion, so picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you.
Indiana's most prolific abortion doctor hid more than 2,000 fetal remains in his home. 2 months later, we still don't know why.
More than 2,000 aborted fetuses were found in the home of Indiana's most prolific abortion doctor. And maybe most unsettling, he died before he could explain why. The pictures used in this story to represent the fetal remains help show the gravity of the events as they happened.
I was horrified. I stood in my kitchen and I started crying.
They were sitting in cardboard boxes in a garage, forgotten and ignored.
Just instantly I thought, oh my gosh, what if one of those babies is mine?
I think this guy was warped in his head.
He kept my baby as like a trophy or something.
Just why? Why the need to take them to his house? Just why?
Klopfer's careless actions did catch up with him. His Indiana medical license was eventually suspended, and his clinics in Fort Wayne, South Bend, and Gary closed for unreasonable patient treatment, bad documentation, and not reporting abortions.
Is there anything else you want people to know about you and what you do? Anything else?
We're all human beings. We all make mistakes, and we have to deal with the consequences, okay?
But no one knew the chilling secret he would take to his grave until his wife discovered more than 2,000 fetal remains at their Illinois home, in the garage, in boxes, bagged with preservation fluid.
Today, we laid to rest the remains of 2,411 unborn children. In doing so, we fulfill our obligation as a state, pursuant to law and conscience, to the unborn babies whose lives were terminated through abortions performed in clinics in Fort Wayne, Gary, and here in South Bend. Although these abortions took place from 2000 to 2003, until today, the remains had yet to receive an appropriate resting place.